Call to order the April 28, 2015 meeting of the Marion County School Board. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the front table. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bobby James, District 3.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Stacy, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Carol Ely, District 2.
Present.
Ms. Angie Boynton, District 4.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Lake, Board Attorney.
Here.
Mr. George Thomas, Superintendent.
Here.
Ms. Teresa Boston Ellis, Executive Director of Business Services, please introduce the employee who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening. Good evening.
Mr. Lake, Mr. Thomas, Ms. Flockheader. I'm really excited to present to you our newest star, Ms. Susan Johnson, our food service supervisor for the Marion County Public Schools. She will share with you words of inspiration and lead us in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Johnson joined the school district in 2011, right around the time for implementation of the Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act. Huge bill, federal bill about school lunches and all the associated requirements that were designed to increase food quality and make enhancements to our food service program. Early compliance in Marion County allowed the district to qualify for some additional funding. What have we done with that funding? We've increased equipment, replaced equipment in our schools. We've also procured more fresh food, especially vegetables and fruit. And also, we've been allowed to hire something recently called cafeteria monitors, which allows our paras to spend more time with our children. So that's a good thing. Under her leadership and with the help of an awesome staff, some of which are here with her tonight, they've made great improvements, increasing our student participation in breakfast and lunch, which is very important in terms of their achievement in school and their academic success. Also, they've increased their customer service and the quality of the food that is served to our students. So during the School Nutrition Association's National Industry Conference, it's a lot of words, that was held in January 2015, Ms. Johnson received the Silver Rising Star Award. This is a national recognition. Awards have been presented for the past 26 years, and they honor school nutrition professionals who are about raising the industry standards within the school district and their communities. Ms. Johnson, will you come up? I would like to present to her again the trophy that she received at the FAME Awards. Please join me in congratulating our Rising Star recipient, Ms. Susan Johnson, and her wonderful staff.
I know how much Ms. Johnson loves this. Yes.
I'll hold this for you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. On the behalf of the employees who work with me in Food and Nutrition Services, thank you for recognizing this achievement. The reason for my individual accomplishment is due to a common goal that is shared by the entire Food and Nutrition team, which is to improve student performance by providing nutritious and kid-friendly meals. As a part of the education team, We understand the first lesson of the geese, which is to fly in formation. As the geese fly in the V formation, they add 71% extra to the flying range. When we work together as a team, sharing common values and a common destination, we can reach our goals at a faster pace. Henry Ford once said, and I quote, "Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success." Thank you for allowing Food and Nutrition Services to be a partner in educating our children. Thank you. Please join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Johnson, we want to thank you and congratulate you too.
Thank you.
And we are so proud of you. And of course, you're welcome to feed all of us anytime.
Thank you.
Mr. James.
Ms. Johnson, would you introduce your other people that you brought with? Would y'all come on up, girl, ladies?
Yes. Yes. With us today is Elizabeth Carter. Elizabeth is an area specialist who handles free and reduced application approval. And our dietitian, Tammy Alvarez. Tammy helps to develop the menu and does the analysis that helps to bring us into compliance with federal regulations. Elizabeth is leaving us this year after 35 years. So we're gonna miss her, and because she's done a wonderful job in approving those applications and getting kids approved for those meal benefits. Thank you.
I just want to say this to you, Ms. Johnson, because being on the front line out there, I know how important the cafeteria is. Because you're the place where every kid will come through that school.
Yes.
And you will set the tone, and all of your employees set the tone. So again, congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
And a congratulations to all the people that work with you to make you a successful person. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'd also like to say something. A mom that had 3 children that came through the school system, they might not know the principal's name, but they knew the lunchroom ladies. And so
That's right.
when they were in elementary school, they knew the lunchroom ladies. And especially my daughter, she loved the lunchroom food,
Great.
especially mac and cheese. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent.
Board, with the exception of item PH8, which has been withdrawn entirely, I recommend approval of the agenda for the April 28th, 2015 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, the audio recording and DVD included as part of the official record of the meeting.
Board, may I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation, please?
So moved.
And a second, please? Been moved by Mrs. King, seconded by Mrs. Ely. Is there any discussion? I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
I think my computer wasn't all the way plugged in, so. It still isn't. There it goes. Yeah.
And the motion passes 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 24th, 2015 school board meeting? Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Ely, seconded by Mrs. King. Is there any additions or corrections to the minute? Any discussion? Question has been called. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the motion passes 5-0. Mrs. Judy Zanetti, Public Relations Officer, would like to recognize a special supporter of the Public Education Foundation. Could you come forward, Mrs. Zanetti?
Thank you, Chairman Boynton, and thank you everyone for allowing me to be here this evening. Good evening, Superintendent Tommen. Now, before I begin my presentation, I have left for each of you your Engage in Education flyer. We'll be having our 4th quarterly meeting on May the 5th at MTI. And I know that you've received this already by email, but I just wanted to go ahead and encourage you all to attend, and please encourage others to attend. For those that are here in the audience, there are more flyers left on the front table, and for anyone at home, please join us at 5 p.m. on the 5th of May at MTI. We would love for you to join the conversation, and your input is important to us. Now, I would like to bring up Miss Allison Campbell from Jenkins Auto Group, and also Mrs. Bethany Crawford, Marion County's Teacher of the Year. Now, you have met Allison before. She was here not that long ago, it seems like, as we recognized Allison and Jenkins Auto Group for their business partnership with Saddlewood Elementary School. So I wanted to just brag on Jenkins for a few moments. So they are a very important partner. They are a business partner with, as I said, Saddlewood Elementary School, and they not only support that school financially, but they're there to provide whatever that school and Principal Beck needs. They also support the Public Education Foundation in many ways, including sponsoring our events, including our upcoming Spring Fling Bowling Tournament, which, if you haven't been, is probably the most fun you can have legally. So we look forward to that bowling tournament coming up on the 14th of May. And of course, you were all at our Golden Apple Teacher Recognition Gala, and you were there when it was announced that Bethany Crawford was our Teacher of the Year, and she received a 3-year lease on a brand new Mazda 6 courtesy of Jenkins Auto Group. So I wanted to allow Miss Bethany to present this plaque to Allison, since it has her picture on it.
Though it doesn't have mine. Thank you so much. It's been an incredible honor to represent Marion County, and we cannot thank you enough for taking the time, and just the way that your company has treated my family personally has just been absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much.
And if you can just turn that around so Mr. Christian gets your
we'll
picture.
do all the PR things. So we're doing our conversation. Well, Jenkins Auto Group is very pleased to be a partner, a long-standing partner for Golden Apple going forward. We have made a commitment to continue this, and who knows what kind of car we'll do next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Board, may I have a motion to adopt a proclamation recognizing May 5th, 2015 as National Teacher Appreciation Day? I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. King, seconded by Mrs. Ely. Is there any discussion? I call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Forest High School Principal, let me wait for the, I'm gonna call you up and then wait for the vote. Forest High School Principal Brent Carson and Teacher of the Year Bethany Crawford, please come forward for the reading and presentation of the proclamation. And the motion does pass 5-0. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Thank you very much, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Lake, Ms. Flocketter. I have the honor of presenting this to a very special person at Forest High School who not only is Marion County Public Teacher of the Year, she's also a fantastic teacher, which I can attest to, as she's also my daughter's teacher. And that doesn't even get me extra points or her extra points. She is a fantastic teacher, and she really embodies what teaching should be in Marion County. So I'm very honored to read this to the board and the community and Mrs. Crawford. National Teacher Appreciation Day. Whereas teachers make public schools great, and whereas teachers work to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams, and whereas teachers keep American democracy alive by laying the foundation for good citizenship, and whereas teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors, and whereas teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories, Now therefore, we, the members of the Marion County School Board and Superintendent, serving as the policy and decision makers for Marion County students, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2015 as the National Teacher Appreciation Day. We urge others to observe this day by taking time to recognize and acknowledge the impact of teachers on our lives. Signed this 28th day of April 2015, and it's signed by all board members and the superintendent. Thank you very much.
I just want to thank you very much on behalf of the nearly 3,000 teachers just in Marion County alone. And it's just a huge honor that I'm able to represent them. I know I'm just a representative of them, but you know, the job we do is so important. I really appreciate you taking the time to recognize that. And also thank you for coming and issuing this. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Ms. Crawford, I want to add one other little plus here. You did not tell the story about how you didn't go to work for me, but so I appreciate you not telling that story. I would like to say that, board, you know, we signed an awful lot of proclamations and letters of interest and letters of congratulation. And years ago, when times were a little better, we used to provide frames for the documents that we provided and sent to, whether it be Boy Scouts or teachers, whatever it might be. We have stopped that practice because of the volume. I would like to recognize the Marion Education Association, who did furnish the frame for that particular plaque tonight. So Bethany, hats off to MEA also.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Ms. Crawford, I wanted to thank you and all the teachers out there. I know this has been a tough year, and we have our ups and downs, but hang in there. And I also want to tell the children and parents out there, for National Teacher Appreciation Day, have your child write a thank you note to your teachers. That's the best appreciation teachers can get. You don't need to buy things for them, just nice little notes of thanks and appreciation. I know I still have some of my notes when I was a teacher, so be sure to thank them. Thank you.
We keep file folders of them. They're important.
They are. They're invaluable.
They may be President of the United States one day.
Mr. James?
Ms. Crawford, I just want to commend you for doing an excellent job with your students.
Thank you,
Because I
sir.
got so many emails from them.
I think you did, sir.
And I just want to let you know, to let them know I did get their email.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay.
I concur with Mr. James. When you were standing there, I was like, oh, Ms. Crawford. And you know what? That shows that you are doing an excellent job and you're giving them a voice.
Well, we want our kids to be engaged citizens in Marion County. We want to keep them here.
Yes.
And we want them to return here and be leaders. That's the goal. That's the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Individuals who completed the appropriate form prior to 5:40 p.m. will now have the opportunity to address the board. Before you begin your presentation, it is required that you state your name and address for the record. Additionally, please spell your last name. Matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents wishing to address the board regarding a discipline matter will have the opportunity to do so at that time. I will now ask the school board attorney to explain some additional points.
Thank you, Ms. Boynton. Good evening, everyone. If you plan to address the school board tonight, you need to be aware of the school board procedures. Copies of the procedures are available from Mr. Christian or from one of the front tables. Under those procedures, audio-visual presentations are permitted if you provide them at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to the school board's assistant. AV presentations are limited to a total of 5 minutes. Use of any student's name except by his or her parent or guardian, or identifying references to or identification of other students and their families is strictly prohibited. Based on time considerations, the school board, by a majority vote, may rightfully limit the number of presentations on any one topic, shorten the presentation time, move public comment time to a different position on the agenda, or eliminate the public comment time altogether. Thank you. Ms. Boynton?
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Ms. Flockhatter, do we have any speakers tonight?
Mr. Chris Altobello.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board, Superintendent. Chris Altobello, Altobello, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street, Ocala, Florida. I'm here tonight to talk about two issues. The first one is the calendar that you are going to be voting on later on tonight. Last night at the MEA monthly leadership meeting, we had a long discussion on the proposed calendar date change. We reached consensus on the following, and we would like to ask the board for its consideration tonight. We would like to have the 2015-16 calendar remain unchanged. We would like the 2016-17 calendar to begin 1 week earlier, and we would like the 2017-18 calendar to begin another week earlier. In short, we are asking the board for a gradual phase-in of this new law, something that parents and education community members have been pushing for years when it comes to recent education legislation. Gradual phase-in. During our debate, it was noted, and we had a spirited discussion, it was noted that some schools already have a mechanism in place for giving semester exams prior to the end of the, prior to the holiday break. Also, some worksite leaders, our building reps, asked if Marion had thought about polling the parents, teachers, and community, as did our neighbor, Lake County, who decided not to implement any change based on those polling results. The greatest concern, however, was the lateness of the decision. The calendar has been available for months now, and parents, employees, and the community have made plans, we believe, accordingly. We would like for you to take this under consideration prior to tonight's vote. So thank you, board, for taking that under consideration. I'd also like to quickly just mention National Teachers Day. Want to give you a little history about it. In 1944, Arkansas teacher Maddie White Woodridge began corresponding with political and education leaders about the need for a national day to honor teachers. She wrote to Eleanor Roosevelt, who in 1953 persuaded the 81st Congress to proclaim a National Teachers Day. The National Education Association, with its state affiliates and the Kansas local, lobbied Congress to create a national day to celebrate teachers. And that day was March 7th, 1980, as the National Teacher Day for that year only. The NEA and its affiliates continued to observe National Teacher Day in March until 1985, when the NEA Representative Assembly voted to change the event to the Tuesday of the first full week of May, and that's how it's been ever since. And I would like to leave you with a quote, but first, going to board member Ely's also, how you want to thank a teacher. The NEA is sponsoring a social media event to thank their teacher, to thank a teacher. And we're teaming up with the National PTA. If you share one of the following on social media during Teacher Appreciation next week, your teacher could win a $100 Visa gift card to help with classroom supplies. So what we're asking is if you have a picture of yourself with your favorite teacher, past or present, a picture of your child with his or her teacher, a picture of yourself holding a piece of paper with a simple message saying, "Thank you, teachers." That'll get you in the contest, and you can designate who you'd like them to win the gift card. But you have to use this thing called a hashtag, whatever that is. So when you're doing that on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, put that little hashtag, number sign, I guess I like to call it, thank a teacher, and that'll get you into the contest. So good luck, and community, please chip in with that. I want to finally just leave you with a quote from businessman Lee Iacocca. And the quote is, in a completely rational society, the best of us would be teachers, and the rest of us would have to settle for something else. So thank you for honoring our teachers tonight.
Thank you, Chris. Ms. Blockheader? Okay. Moving along, board. May I have a motion to approve the 2015-2020 charter renewal contract for Marion Charter School? A motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. James and seconded by Mrs. King. Mr. Superintendent.
Board, this contract was reviewed and discussed at the February 19th, 2015 administrative briefing and work session. Approval of this contract will allow the charter school to continue providing a public school option for elementary students.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the 2020 renewal contract with Marion Charter school. Anyone present? Board, do we have any discussion?
I've been out there quite a few times, and I'm very pleased to see how smooth that school is running with the new principal, and things are going fine. What is your attendance out there now? What are your enrollment?
Right now, we currently have 182, but our projection is for around 209 students next year.
That's great. Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Ready to go?
Okay, I'll call a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
We are discussing the calendar, right?
Later on.
Plus it's for the city.
And the motion passes 5-0. Congratulations. Thank you. Board, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item C23, which has been placed on the regular agenda for discussion. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Ely, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? Okay, I call a question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the motion passes 5-0. Board, may I have a motion to adopt the revised instructional calendar for the 2015 to the 2016 school year with the student start date of August 17, 2015. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Ely and seconded by Mr. James. Mr. James, you withdrew this item. Would you like to discuss something with us about it?
Yes, I pulled it simply because I wanted to make sure that people understand what this is about with me. It's about us as a board making a decision and then sticking with the decision. It's not about the students and their testing dates or the family vacations. I don't really want to get into it. The reason I would like to make sure people understand this, when I look at what we're about, I would like for the board to establish the fact that once we say something, we have to have a very valid, solid reason for us to change. Now, there is a valid reason here tonight. Okay, I had the opportunity really to talk with various people. I had two people on the same schools. One, they were talking with me about they had scheduled vacation time. Two, I was talking with a classroom instructor, and he was telling me how important that time was if the schedule was changed. So I was sitting there, and I'm sitting here saying to myself, Self, what do we really need to do here? And Self said to me, I have to make a decision based on the fact that what's good for kids. And this is where it finally came back to it. I did talk with the superintendent again, and this is why I'm going to support it. Simply because he said that I will make every effort to fulfill all the obligations that people have made in reference to their vacations and their vacation time. I had a choice of either saying I can put it off to next year or give him the opportunity to fulfill his obligation and to make sure that those kids get every opportunity to move forward in their educational progress. So when I really look at the thing, I'm concerned when for the board, when we make a decision, just like at one point we said that we were going to give the non-represented employees an additional few points of a few dollars and something like that, and we said we'd put it off to next year. I want the board, when we say something, that it have to take really a significant move for us not to do that, because I'm looking forward to the fact that when the board say something, we need to say it and mean it. So that's where I am with it.
Mrs. Ziggy, and then Ms. Stacy.
Mr. James, I wanted to reiterate what you said about making changes as a board. Wanted to remind you that the legislature made this change after we adopted the calendar in December, and this change happened when they moved it up. They moved it back. Excuse me. That happened in 2006 and was because of the Disney World and all the employees and vacationers. That's why it was moved, and we didn't have a choice. Now we do, and I really truly believe that it's in the best interest of our kids. They can't be in school 2 less weeks before assessments compared to other counties. I know every county's looking at it different, but I know this is what's best for kids. And I appreciate the fact that the superintendent is working with the parents and the employees who have booked a vacation at that time. But I totally agree with you, and you know, we are doing what's best for kids. Thank you.
Ms. Stacy.
Yes, I can't support the change of the calendar because I do believe that we gave our word on the calendar. It was published, it was voted on, and just because on a whim of the legislature to turn the entire community's summer upside down for some, especially children from broken families where if a child spends the first couple of weeks of the summer with mom and the last couple, maybe dad lives in Virginia and that's his chance to spend, say, 3 weeks with dad. Well, now he has to come back a week early. And I think that, is basically, is going to affect some children. I've already had some phone calls about it. Lake County did an interesting thing. The superintendent there polled the community, and the school board website was where they reported to. And 71% of the people that voted did not want the calendar changed. Only 29% did. There were 10,840 something respondents. This was not just a polling of 500 people. This represents their community. And our community didn't vote. We didn't give our community a chance. And they ask also if your, what would affect your life? How would it affect your life if this summer change is done? Over half of the people that voted said they already have plans at the end of the summer. And regarding districts like St. John's and Seminole, because I do enjoy going and looking at those districts and talking about those districts and talking to people in those districts, St. John's County did not change their start date. Their start date was what it is. It is not a change. Seminole County, the only reason they only back theirs up 1 week, but their calendar last year was 2 weeks back. They had a failing school, so they lost their slot. So the community didn't realize they had changed the school schedule anyway in the first place because they moved real quick to fix it back. But, I got to thinking about all these reasons that was given to us for why we need to do this. And that, final exams can be taken early. Well, Mrs. Elsperman has been doing that, I guess, ever since she's been involved at the high school, and that's what she does, and it works well for her, and obviously it does since her school's a high-performing school. The principals that are responsible and want to do the right thing that they feel for kids, they move the calendar back and they do what they need to do. So I got curious, if going to school early in August makes a whole lot of difference prior to the December, the Christmas break, and it's that important, I decided to Google up, and I looked on usnews.com, and I looked at the rankings of districts. I looked at the #1 high school in the nation. It's in Texas. It's called Texas School for Talented and Gifted. The #1 school in the nation, according to usnews.com, that I just Googled up today. I called them this morning. I said, when does your school start? They said August the 24th, same day that we were originally scheduled to start ours. So evidently, it hasn't hurt them a bit to be in school, not coming in early, but prior to Christmas break, because they're doing what we're doing, because the calendar doesn't make it. So then I looked at Massachusetts. I Googled up the #1 academic state in the nation, and it was Massachusetts. So I looked at their #1 through 4 school, just because that's all I had time to call. And this morning, I called Massachusetts top 4 schools in their state. Boston Latin School, I called them. I called Advanced Math and Science Academy, and it happens to be a charter school. I called Belmont High School, and I called Wellesley High School. They all start in September. gee, seems like it's not hurting them at all to not be in school that much earlier than Christmas. So, and then I was concerned too. We said, well, it's going to affect us because we won't have as many days on the calendar compared to the other districts to do the FSA. So I called Mrs. Weldon and I asked Mrs. Weldon, when does the FSA, what's going on with the FSA? She said, well, we have a window. We can take it anywhere from April 13th till May 8th. So if we were so concerned about how it was going to affect us academically to have our students in school longer, we could have scheduled our FSA a week later already. We had a window. The schools chose when they wanted to do it, and they chose not to wait until May to do it. So apparently those 5 days were not that crucial to those people. So when I look at the actual evidence, I call the districts, and it's not the number of days before Christmas. Obviously, when the number one high school in the nation and the top 4 high schools in the number 1 state in the nation all start their schedule either where we're planning on starting ours as the calendar's printed now until September. So, I'm not one that looks for gigs and, the number of days is going to save our necks. We have almost a month that 3 weeks where we can change. If we start 5 days later than everyone else, we can just move our FSAs back and take the FSA a little farther into the year. So I think that the 5 days is going to hurt families a lot more than it's going to help us, because there's absolutely no proof at all that going to school 5 days early is going to make this district a brilliant district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Ms. King?
I would also like to add that I cannot commit to voting for this also for a couple different reasons. Number one is back in December, we did approve this calendar, and it was out to employees and our families. And so having faith in us, they went ahead and they did book their flights, they booked cruise lines, they had made plans. And here it is almost May, and we decided that because, for a good reason, but we decided that we're going to change our mind. And I feel it's a little late in the game. And a couple things that I'm concerned about is the students. It may be said that, they can make the work up. Well, as a former teacher, that first week is critical. That's when the teacher establishes rules. That's when they just develop and they understand what's going to be ahead of them for the year. A lot goes on during that first week that, probably just isn't open. And also, I feel it's unfair and unjust to make a student come in and make up homework because we couldn't stick to our word, a week's worth of homework. Also, as far as employees go, it may be said that they won't be affected. Well, they will be, because if they're missing a week of school, then they're taking they're taking personal days, and that affects them financially, and that is profound. If you're an educator or whatever your position is, if you're losing your monies in finance, that has an impact on you, and that is no fault of their own. That's because we decided to change what we wanted to do. And so those were my points that I wanted to make, that I can't commit to something that I already put my word on, and that was to approve this calendar that we have in place now.
Okay, thank you. Well, board, here's my, I received a lot of emails, and I talked to a lot of people about the calendar, and I do remember giving one of my bankers, the 15-16 calendar early. And as I talked to different people, most of them said the same thing to me, that, it's totally not what we're saying now, what they're being hearing now. So I'm going to support it, but I want to read something that touched me. And this is from, and I already told her that I was going to read this, from Carly Albright. And she says, I'm a student currently attending Forest High School as a junior and will be next year as a senior. As a driven student, I have chosen to take 6 advanced placement classes next year. I and many of my peers would greatly benefit in a change in the schedule for next year. It was brought to my attention by my AP USH teacher, a push teacher, Mrs. Crawford, that by changing the schedule, I would receive an extra week of review before AP testing, midterms exams before Christmas break, and would be able to graduate a week earlier. This change will be extremely beneficial, not only for my education for next year, but a much smoother transition into college. I'm urging all members of the school board to greatly consider the profound impact this could have on students like myself, whose sole purpose in high school is to gain as much credit and experience possible. And, you know, that kind of moved me. And then I read one from Katie Emily, and she was very concerned about it, and she said, this is a follow-up to my email a few days ago. Kevin Christian of Public Relations very quickly and generously addressed my concerns and provided me with the proposed calendar going for the upcoming year, which I understand is to be heard at the April 28th board meeting. I was able to review it, and it seemed the proposed calendar, other than the start date and end dates, is similar to the concurrency with Lake County school calendar we've experienced in the past. Although I would like to spend more time for future years working toward a more unified school calendar for the Tri-County area, I do not think the proposed calendar is much different than what we've experienced in the past. I will not be speaking in opposition of the calendar at the board meeting next week. Thank you for hearing and addressing my concerns. So I weigh that, and I weigh what the students say a lot heavier, because I think we're all here for the students, you know? And I know all students are on the same level, and not all are taking AP classes or over at the IB programs. So I weighed that pretty heavily, so I'm going to be supporting the change tonight. Ms. Stacy?
You know, I received those letters also, but the flaw in the second letter is that Lake County does start the same date that ours is starting. Lake County is not starting at the new proposed time. And so I read and I sent her a note back and said to her, Lake County's start date's the same as ours is printed in our calendar. And so possibly she's, I'm not really sure why her letter said that it matched Lake County, but it does not.
She doesn't say it matched. She said it's similar. She said she didn't say it matched at all.
But, you know, I look at, my students were AP students, but, you know, I believe there are a lot more students, since 50% of our students are from broken homes, that will be affected by visitation with their biological parents more than what it's going to affect an AP student who is very adaptable. They're very, very adaptable. And we gave our word. And I don't want to see a parent have to go to court to change a date. And I don't want to see the child have to do makeup work because dad said no. In Virginia, you're not going to come back until, you know, this was the date we decided based upon your school's calendar. I don't want to get into the middle of family issues because, you know, the school board didn't do the right thing. We already have a problem with with the community. It took us a long time to get them to convince them to support us, you know, with the art and music program. It took years, and now for us to go and say we don't say what we mean and do what we say, we don't do that. And I guess I'm just a person who believes that if we said it, just because the legislature got up there, they don't have a clue, and they're not sitting in our seats. They don't know how it's going to affect families, I would probably guess that for the most part they believe we probably wouldn't do it this year. That would be something we would do next year. It was something that we could go do. If I was a legislator, and I would probably have voted to give the schools. I mean, I would definitely have voted to give them flexibility. I would have never dreamed in a million years that a district would go back on its word to the people. Never. And so, I do agree that, you know, maybe it makes it easy for, you know, a handful of AP students, but I believe that 50% that are from broken homes is going to make it harder for them. Thank you.
Mr. James?
You know, we can come up with any facts and figures in any county you want to, but when you start drilling down in it, 3 weeks or 4 weeks after kids are out of school, parents want them back in school. So let's not kid. Let's not be sitting up here kidding ourselves. the people that can afford the vacations and things, hats off to them. The superintendent's gonna have his word, and his staff's word that's gonna make it right. But all you guys out there sitting around listening to this, y'all know that when you look at the number of free and reduced lunches we have around here, these kids ain't gonna be going on too many vacation other than wild waters and parents trying to find something for them to get involved with. Okay, now, you asked me why I'm voting to support the superintendent. I'm voting here to support the superintendent based on all the facts that it's the right thing to do. Now, I have listened to all of this, and I know my word is my word. And when I change it, you better have a good reason. And I think this is a good reason. Now, I can go look at Lake County, South Sumter, everybody got a different horse in the field. But I'm gonna tell you right now, these kids in Marion County, when the bell rang, those kids are running back to school. And so let's don't kid ourselves that we got all these people going on to Europe and all that stuff. Half of them kids gonna be walking around the street looking for something to do. And so if there's none other, I call the question on this thing, because we're gonna find some other holes to chase.
Mrs. King would like to say, Mrs. King, go ahead.
And all I'm gonna add to that is I'm a firm believer of always putting our students front and center. I think I've said that several times, front and center. And to me, I feel it's important that we lead by example, and that is by sticking to our word. And it doesn't, it's not all completely about your vacations or wherever we be going. It's about leading by example.
Okay, thank you. I want to say this, and because I don't want the public to think that, because you all know we do make changes on different things when we have our staffing plan, and when our budget comes out and we don't have enough, funds, we will make a change. So don't think there aren't things that we don't make changes on. There are certain things that we will make changes on. And I know I sat here and the superintendent brought this to us so many times as soon as the legislators started working on it. And he kept saying to us as a board, this is something I would like to do. And he also said to us that, I'm willing to work with staff or students for whatever issue for that week. And so if you do have a problem with it, I would advise you to make sure you contact your principal, and let them hear what you have to say, because I do know that I do trust what you say, and I do trust the staff when they say that, yes, we will work with parents and with students. I do trust them. So the question has been called. So I call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Like sign. And the motion passes 3-2. Thank you, board. Board, may I have a motion to approve the following donations? $1,000 to Dunellen Elementary School from the Dunellen Elementary School PTO. $3,620 to Fort McCoy School from Cactus Jacks 2 Incorporated. $1,000 to Fort McCoy School from Ocala United Incorporated. $2,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Seminole Feed. $1,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Daniel Hightower, attorney. $1,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Lee Oswald. $1,000 to Marion Technical Institute from Hugh and Valerie Daly. $2,500 to Vanguard High School from the Marion County Extension Advisory Council. I have a motion and a second to approve the following donations.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Ely and seconded by Mrs. King. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the motion passes 5-0. Mrs. Stacy, would you do us the honor of tonight of thanking our donors for us?
I will look at our board
board secretary assistant here, as she has added everything up for me. And we have $13,000 in donations in this meeting tonight. You know, when the community has confidence in us, that's where we build, that's the foundation that we build from. And I want to thank all of those that gave us money for their schools, and thank them for caring enough about their school to focus in on, because really the people that dig deep in their pockets are few and far between. And I want to thank you for being the ones that do this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Board, I'm gonna give you a few reminders here. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, May 7, 2015 at 9 a.m. And the purpose of the work session is to receive a hurricane briefing from the Marion County Emergency Management, as well as review employee demographics and the 2013 to 2018 strategic plan. So bring your information for the strategic plan, please. Board, as a result of today's meeting with the city, an attorney-client session has been scheduled for 4 p.m. on Tuesday, May 12th. Additionally, a joint meeting of the two boards, that's the City of Ocala and the Marion County School Board, is being scheduled for 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 30th. Please mark your calendars accordingly. 5:30. June 30th. That's a Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. That's the last Tuesday of the month of June.
And then May 12th at 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had something to do for the truancy court then. Attorney-client session.
So it's important that everyone is at that. Please try to be there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, Board, do you have any committee reports, concerns, or comments? I'll start with you, Ms. Stacy.
Well, I've got a couple of things. I want to thank Mrs. Boynton for giving me the opportunity to be involved in looking at what we can do for parents in the community. And I attended the Orange County Parent Academy almost the entire day on Saturday. I attended some of their sessions, and they had a great one on the digital classroom that was really great for the parents that were in there, because it talked about other options where parents can go to links and different things to find information about extra study places and things that they can do. That was really interesting to me. I also liked the one where it was the parent attitude session, where it talked about, you know, the parents' attitude with the children and how they do in school. There's definitely a correlation. And so I got to enjoy some time with some of the Orange County board members and some of the people in Title I. And there's another one coming up on Saturday in a couple of weeks. They ended up accidentally with two really close to each other, but it'll be at a different high school for a different region. And I plan on attending that one also. So it makes for a long day, but I'm going to try to talk Dr. DeWeese into going with me on that one. Now, for a housekeeping item, the legislature also gave us another thing that we could do. You know, since they gave us the option to change the school calendar, and we have done that. They also gave us the opportunity to end the end of course exams. And I have been studying up on that and found out, I looked around the state at what's happened on those exams, the county-driven exams. And I looked at Charlotte County. They just voted, their school board members just led their community into ending their end of course exams. In Charlotte County, they ranked 30 districts academically above our district. They're a great district. Pinellas County, they also just voted. Their school board were leaders and decided also it was time to stop the hemorrhaging financially. We've spent money on these exams. We talk about how we hemorrhage financially, and we have a chance to stop the hemorrhaging and stop the bleeding. Just stop the expense, stop everything, and just be done with it. It wasn't a good idea, was what the reason it's now being called back by the legislature. So Pinellas County, they have voted that they are going to be ending the exams, and and they are 11 districts academically ahead of our district. Leon County, the county seat, the state seat, our capital, they have voted to end the end-of-course exams that are county-driven, and there are 27 districts academically above us. Walton County, a small county, they have voted to end theirs, and they are 46 districts above us towards the top academically in the state. Pasco County, they have also voted to end them. They are ranked 16 districts closer to the top than us. Broward County, ranked 14 districts above, they have also ended the end-of-course exams. Their school board were leaders and did that. But the big leader was Dade County. Dade County, they're ranked 21 districts ahead of us academically. And their superintendent was the 2014 National Superintendent of the Year. And he led his board. He was the leader in this. And I found a Facebook comment that he had made. And Superintendent Carvalho said, "We have taken a responsible approach to assessing students in order to restore valuable teaching and learning time." That was what he wrote on his Facebook page. And I would like to ask this school board to step up to the plate. So far, none of the districts that are below us are doing this. This is only the high-performing districts, the higher-performing districts that are taking this giant leap. I would like to jump into the fray with the high-performing districts and join them as some of our top-ranked districts have led it, and I'd like for us to follow them. No one behind us is doing it, and I wonder if I could talk my school board members into forming some type of a consensus where we would go ahead and allow the superintendent to stop the cost, stop the hemorrhaging, stop the bleeding, and get us out of jail.
All right, Ms. Stacy, I know that's something that we have already talked to the superintendent about,
Okay.
and I know you were supposed to provide some documents to him, or,
On the end-of-course exams?
well,
No, that was something else.
something different. Well, anyway, on that, I was, I'm going to provide a copy of this to each of you. And this is about Lee County, dumping the end of the course,
Leon County?
Leon County. Thank you.
This one, I would like to respond if I have an opportunity.
Mr. Superintendent, you need to
Yes,
say-
this was actually part of my review tonight, and I can go ahead and jump to there, at least with this topic. What Mrs. Stacy is sharing and has shared thus far is a movement that a number of districts around the state, and mostly superintendents, are at least speaking forward, keeping in mind that local end-of-course exams that were required by the state have nothing to do with school grades or district grades. And I think that is a very important factor to remember. I'd like to have a draft of a document that is going out to our school community very soon, and I'd like to read portions of this to you. And that we have, when I say we, that's a school district administration, has been asked why Marion County is not canceling some or all of our scheduled local assessments as some other counties are doing. And there are a variety of reasons for our decision to stay the course for this spring. State statute from 2014 and 2015 legislation continues to require that districts include student performance data as a percent of all instructional and school-based administrative evaluations. The legislature did drop student data from 50% to 33% of the teacher evaluation. Our current assessment plan was created through collaboration and agreement with our local teachers union. We listened, as all across the state happened, to our teachers who told us they did not want their evaluation to be based upon student performance in an area where they do not have direct impact, keeping in mind that state required exams deal with specific courses and then specific courses in grades 3 through 10. Therefore, we ensured that all subject areas not assessed by the state exam had a local end-of-course assessment to address this concern for teachers. Our Marion County's local end-of-course exams were created by Marion County teachers for use with Marion County students, again, following statute. Marion County does not have an appropriate assessment that we could substitute at this late date to measure student performance as mandated by the state for employee evaluations. I do not know how other districts are addressing that. I know what the law says, I know what our agreement is, and I know what we're obligated to do here. Again, statute still requires that 33% of the instructional personnel and school-based administrator evaluations are based on student performance. And additionally, only the performance of a teacher's assigned students, the students that work with that teacher, or for a school administrator, the students attending the school should be used in their evaluation. This prevents the use of state assessments for a large number of teachers. The data gathered from the assessments this year will also help us measure growth for next year. And many courses which are taught for less than a full year have already administered the local end-of-course assessments. And equity requires that we do not hold some employees to those assessments and not to others. Based on this information, we, my staff, and I do not feel it is appropriate for us to recommend that we suspend our current assessment plan for 14-15. We hope the students and teachers and the parents in the community will understand our determination to fulfill our statutory obligation to complete the scheduled assessments. We also know that DOE is working frantically, so we're told, to give us additional information. Should additional information come to me from the legal authorities or from DOE, this position could change. But at this moment in time, based on what we know, it's very important that we stay the course. Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Ms. Stacy?
Okay, I wasn't gonna go into this part. I was just gonna leave it be. But speaking about our own district's end of course exams, I've spoken to quite a few teachers. Come to find out, the teachers have actually been invited to come see the test. They can't take a picture of it. They can't write anything, but they can come review the test. And I call that sneak a peek.
Teachers actually created the test, Ms. Stacy.
But they're allowed to come in and see the test that they're going to be giving. If they have a real good memory, they can remember the test questions. And I think this entire thing is just a gig. It's cost a lot of money. And we're going to have a sneak a peek. In other words, we're having organized cheating on our end of year course exams by allowing teachers to come in and see them. It's not and some of the teachers have told me they are not coming in to review the test because they feel it's wrong. And they're afraid that at some point in time they may even get in trouble for test cheating or something if they were known to have gone. And so I do not believe that it's fair either, Mr. Tommen, for us to grade teachers who did not accept the sneak a peek look at the test against the teachers who chose to do the honorable thing and give the test without looking at it ahead of time. And so as far as a position paper from the Department of Education, first of all, if they sent us a paper down here telling us how to do it, we should probably send it back in return mail. It means absolutely nothing. If they send us board rule, that matters. But for the Department of Education to send us down one of their little papers means absolutely nothing. Evidently, districts that are performing much better than we're performing had no problem reading the new bill. They don't need Pam Stewart or someone up there to tell them exactly what it says. And I understand that our education commissioner's from this district. I understand that she was a principal with you. Y'all were principals together. And I understand there might be some, I don't know, I'm asking you, is there maybe some loyalty to Mrs. Stewart? But what I want to be loyal to are the students of this county, and I have a real problem with teachers doing a sneak a peek on tests that they're supposed to be given that are going to give students grades, that they're going to grade students on, and it's going to actually be part of the teacher's evaluation. I'm sure we have plenty to grade the teachers on, and I believe we could probably pick up the phone in the morning and call any of these district superintendents, and they could tell us just how to do it because they've done it. We have spent a lot of money on these end of course exams, and there comes a time where it's good money after bad. It's ending. It's falling like a deck of cards in all the districts that's ranked higher than us. Granted, I haven't seen one of them yet that's ranked below us do it, but the high achieving districts are leaving this. And, as far as comparing the teachers, the ones that cheated on the test versus the ones that didn't, I don't think that's fair either, Mr. Tomlin.
I'm not even going to venture to say that any of our teachers cheat, Ms.
No.
Stacy. And
We
on
were
behalf of
invited
those
in to
teachers,
see 'em.
I am offended
Well,
by those words.
They were invited to see a test.
I'm gonna call to order, and I was gonna give you an opportunity, Mr. Superintendent, to say, did you have anything to rebut for what Mrs. Stacy said, or?
Following statute, our teachers were invited in, our teachers with district staff wrote the test for these, let's say, kindergarten through second grade, and then senior level tests also that are not tested by FSA. They are given a window period in when they can administer those tests. I've never said, nor did anyone participate in this process, no one ever said that the teacher-made assessment here in Marion County for a particular subject was as valid or as reliable as the FSA or FCAT or SAT or ACT. No one said that at any point in time, but we are following statute here, and a lot of hard work from our employees has gone into this, and I think it is important that we stay the course in 14-15.
All right, thank you. And, when is our work session on, what was that you had discussed with us?
That was something completely different. It had nothing to do
We
with this.
can combine them together.
Well, the problem is, the teachers need to know. This is, the other school boards
Okay.
haven't had
All
to
I
have.
need to know is, we have a work session on,
Curriculum.
That was
Curriculum.
something
Reading
completely
curriculum.
different.
what day is that?
June 4th.
June 4th? So if we could
That's
add-
something completely different. This will be over by then, Ms. Boynton.
No, it's never, well, school will be out, yes.
We'll have nothing to do with the end of course exams. To stay the course was something that the leading districts have discontinued because they said it's not worth staying the course. It's a bunch of money that we keep spending for no gain.
Ms. Stacy, I'm sure that you have some support from some board on some of the things you said, because most of us are very concerned about too much testing, and we've all spoke that. But I do believe that in order for us to make a wise decision for our students, we would have to sit and have the time for open discussion among board members on where they really stand at it. So if we could bring, even if it's after, I think we still need to discuss it.
It's no sense in discussing it. If it's not resolved now, there's no reason to discuss it because it ends next year anyway. It's not required next year.
Okay, and I also would like
Is
to.
that true, Mr. Tomlin?
I beg your pardon, the legislature's not addressed 16, 17 yet,
But
so.
14, 15, for next year, it's not required at all, so it would be.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
It
Right
is.
now, the legislation just passed is that student assessment data is required for teacher evaluation.
And we have student assessment data. We have tons of it. We have, end of course exams in the core subjects,
And that addresses about 50% of our instructional employees.
Well, I'm sure that we have plenty of expertise.
We
here.
have,
The-
and we've done in the
The number one
past.
superintendent in the nation led this and
Okay,
said it's time to stop.
At our next work session next week, we're discussing the hurricanes and, diversity in our strategic plan. I would like to see if we have time to add it to the,
Won't have time to, the ad runs this Thursday.
okay.
Makes it hard. I can attempt to.
The other school boards, a lot of them just, they gained consensus and then voted it at, talked about it at a different time. I'd like to know how the other board members feel. We're in an open board meeting. I don't know why we have to hide from the public to talk about things.
We don't hide from the public in our work sessions. You know that those work sessions are just as open.
During the
But-
day when people are at work.
But I've attempted to put it on the agenda for our work session to talk about. I think at this point, does any board want to have a comment on that? Maybe they want to go and research. I think that's the fair thing to do. I know you want to gain support, but I'm a person that like to read what is being said, why.
You Google up every one of these in 5 seconds. Read all about them.
Okay. And for organized cheating to be, spoken about, like our teachers or any of them would feel like that sneak peek at the exam would,
There's teachers that have refused to do it because they
I
don't
understand
feel it's
that. I
right.
understand that, but I just think that to make the term organized cheating, it draws up a red flag for everyone about our testing. and all
Driven
that.
by the district. Driven by the district to take a sneak a peek.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy, but I think we need to address sometimes the way we say things, although.
You're right. You're right.
Although it may not be organized, I don't think the district is trying to organize their teachers together to cheat on a test at all.
They were given permission to look at the test, and that gives some teachers an unfair advantage. You said, I'm not gonna look, I don't allow my students to look at a test, and I'm not gonna look at a test.
Where are we going with this?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. I'm just gonna end it.
Let's just.
I'm gonna end it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead to Mrs. King and ask her, do you have anything that you want to bring, any concerns?
Well, I'm going to bring up something positive, and that is last week I had the opportunity to go out to East Marion Elementary for Agriculture Literacy Day, and I had an opportunity to read to all the first graders this book, and it was about livestock and poultry, and it was amazing how much they knew, and they really enjoyed it because there was discussion about Marion County in there, and we learned that, I guess, Marion County, we have like the most goats in Florida. We all found that interesting. I was like, who knew? We knew we had horses, but we didn't know about the goats. And so they were the best audience ever, and that was a great experience. Again, I want to continue to thank and encourage our educators for continually giving their heart and soul to their students. And it's been a difficult time, and they're just giving it their all. And again, I want to encourage our students to have that endless determination that they all have, and stay focused and follow through. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kelly. Mr. James?
Just some things that I'm really concerned about. On Thursday, May 7th, we'll be looking at our employment and demographics and review. Some of the things that it's just coming to my attention, if you look at the movement that we have in our school district in terms of administrators and administrators in general, and in terms of teachers and things like that, the movements are inevitable. But I will tell you this, our school system is only as good as the people that we hire and we move in those positions. I know that we're coming up on May 7th with an opportunity to look at the demographics, but we need to look at a plan. I'd like to see the superintendent's plan and how we're gonna deal with all the people that are retiring. Because when I look at what is occurring, if I look at your staff, the majority of the people that came in with you as superintendent are gone, and you're replacing them. We lost Pam Brewer just recently, and I'm concerned about the people that we are replacing. That should be part of the demographics as well. And I just would like to have a really good discussion on what we're doing. Okay, when I say this to you, I think this is a crucial moment, because I've talked about a balanced scorecard, but I'm also looking at what it will take to get the data that we need to determine the right direction. And it do depend on the people that we have in key position. The demographics are important. The people that we are bringing in. Have we opened up our hiring to our people outside of the district? Because when I was looking at this, I'm saying, do we have an opportunity to bring people inside or outside of the district, to bring some additional ideas in? And I'm concerned about this. And our board members, we need to look at what we're doing with our school system internally. I'm gonna tell you this: we can find any data you want. We can go and check the internet, and you can find anything that you want in terms of support your idea. But I know one thing: we cannot afford to beat ourselves by looking at the other part and not looking at what's occurring in here, and find out what we're doing to make sure that we don't have to use some of the tools that we're putting in our toolbox. And what am I saying in reference to this? I want to look at how we are upgrading the people that we have employed in the system. That's one of the things that I'm concerned about. In terms of the good things that are going on, I know that we had a lot of kids that went down to grad night, and I want to commend all those people that took all those kids down to Universal and got them all back, because I know there were some very anxious people. So I want to commend you guys that were out there that's doing those things that people don't say anything about. Okay, that's where I am.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mrs. Ely?
Okay, a couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure of going to Bellevue Santos Elementary, where they were recognizing outstanding school volunteers. And in two of the categories, these volunteers won for the district, and I wanted to highlight them. One is a woman who is in the 62 years and older. Her name is Irma Sebekson, and Irma is a volunteer in the kindergarten program, and she has already done 70 hours this year already. But I think one of the things that I thought was so interesting, if you're familiar with the Reading Pals program, you know, you work with a book for with the kindergartners that week. Well, when she reads the book ahead of time and reads it with the kids, she goes home to make something to relate to the story. Like Miss Mary Mack, she made silver buttons and put them all over her back when she came the next day. And a box is many things. She made neat little toys from boxes. And for the book Carrot Seed, I know you've all read that one, she brought seeds for the kids to plant. And so she just ties it all together. And thank you so much, Irma, for being such an outstanding school volunteer. The other category was the Bellevue High School Pals, a group of 18 high school students who are in the agriculture program there. They worked with kindergartners and a second grade class also. And they have been there all year. I guess they are in first grade too. They try to bring agriculture into the classroom, and they teach lessons to the kids revolving some area of agriculture. And like Ms. King was saying, you know, we have horses here, and a lot of our children don't know that we have anything else. But they brought seed packets for the kids and helped them plant. They also taught, I thought this was interesting, the different uses of cows beyond hamburgers and milk. Because that's, you know, kindergartners, that's all you can think about. But they're such great role models, and these 18 students all came for the volunteer breakfast. And I want to thank all of you, Bellevue High students, and Irma. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ely. Mr. Lake, do you have anything to say?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Ms. Boynton. Yes, I do have a couple of things. That, Board, if you were watching your email this afternoon, you know that this afternoon the Florida House of Representatives abruptly adjourned their spring session, leaving the Senate to meet. What this means, or a bottom line to us, is that there is no state budget at this time. There is no continuation of the current session, and the governor, I believe, is the technical aspect, will have to recall the Senate and the House to come back in. This discussion that they're having, you can read the newspapers and the news media as well as I can. I don't completely understand it, nor would I try to explain it to anyone. But I know it is crucial to us because we are optimistic about the budget that we're receiving from Marion County, but we cannot move forward with any rapid speed to bring you information or to do some of the things that we need to do until we get that budget. So Teresa is crossing her fingers and smiling faintly at me when we have meetings, but I'm going to continue to be optimistic about that, especially when it comes to hiring of personnel. And regarding the hiring season, Mr. James already alluded to that. Our Employment Services Division is very, very busy right now. At the present time, at this moment in time, we're in our 2-week in-house voluntary transfer period in which current employees have the opportunity to transfer pending principal approval to go to a different school. So we have not opened our system up to outside applicants yet. On May the 10th, we will then post open positions. Posting means advertising open positions for instructional and non-instructional positions for anyone, whether they be a non-employee in the district or someone from outside of the district. In light of our budget situation, I have frozen some of these units. We will not be releasing the entire staffing plan that you have already approved. But I am happy to say that we will be releasing the referendum-funded units, those being art, music, media, PE, physical education, and some of the class size units. And those will be advertised and filled in living up to our obligation to our citizens. Then a final note in reference to the hiring season we've already announced to you, just to remind you again, on May 15th and 16th, that's the evening of the 15th and the 16th, we are bringing back what we used to have here. We haven't had one in about 11 years now, and that's our teacher recruitment fair. Our principals and assistant principals will be congregating at the College of Central Florida on that evening. It's well advertised. We have a number of people applicants who've already signed up to come there. Our oversight committee that will be looking at the referendum verification of spending of those dollars will be meeting for the first time next Wednesday, May the 6th at 5 o'clock. I hope that all those members and alternates will be able to attend. I've announced to you again, but I'll say it again about our summer school programs and the variety of opportunities we have for children. Volunteer pre-kindergarten classes, we have a number of classes around the district. Our STEM, which is a special program for incoming 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students in science and technology. Our 3rd grade summer camp for those students who have been retained or recommended for retention. The Ocala Stampede, one of our local organizations, has a summer camp at Howard Academy for almost 100 students. We, of course, have a very active middle school unit recovery program and a high school credit recovery program going, and an ESOL program also for elementary students to keep them from falling back. The last thing I want to say is Mrs. Boynton has already announced this to you in reference to 2 special meetings that you have coming up. Again, one after a mediation meeting this morning that the judge required the district to go through. It was decided that we would, that's with the city over the stormwater issue, it was decided that we would continue following the judge's orders and have a joint meeting, and that meeting has been scheduled again for June the 30th at 5:30 p.m. I'll give you the rationale for that date. Both the city council and the school board meet on Tuesdays, albeit opposite. That is the 5th Tuesday of the month, so it fit with us. Prior to that, of course, we want to meet with our attorney in a shade session, so that'll be at 4 o'clock. That's prior to the May 12th school board meeting, which we'll be meeting with our attorney for some very, very important, and I should emphasize, very important discussion with our attorney in reference to that matter. I saw you marking your calendars, and I appreciate that, and we'll certainly send you some reminders of that. That's all I have, Ms. Boynton.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, Board, I have a few things I want to thank everybody for signing up for the graduation assignments. I'm real happy to see that. And the superintendent did the House adjourning, and they're at impasse on the budget, so she stole my thunder on that. But I don't know if you are aware, the Student Media Festival is celebrating 14 years, and this will be held at Westport High School Performing Arts Center. This is on Friday night, May 8th. The 7 p.m. event is free and open to the public, and if you have never been to one of the media events, you should. It's a joy to see the students and their work and the awards that's given out and how they react. It's just a wonderful event. We also were given some information that I hope is okay to announce, but the National Day of Prayer on May 7th, there will be on the downtown square, May 7th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We did give a proclamation on that. Also, Board, just for your information, Andrea Messina is now the new Executive Director of the FSBA, and with that selection, I was very pleased with that. She is a former board member plus a trainer, within the FSBA. So, and I also think that I need to remind you that on May 7th, as part of the employee demographics, we will have Loretta Jenkins will be talking to us on diversity. Okay. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through April 10th, 2015. Are there any parents in the audience who wish to speak on behalf of a student regarding a disciplinary matter? Board, may I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 15-90 with educational services through the 2015-2016 school year. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Ely, seconded by Mr. James. Is there any discussion? There no discussion, I call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the motion passes 5-0. And I would like to say, Ms. Stacy, I want to thank you for going on your trip to Orlando and being so involved with the parent committee. I received an email from one of the parents, and she's so excited to be a part of it. So I want to thank you for your fine work that you're doing on that. And board, there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. King, seconded by Mrs. Ely. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. And the meeting the motion passes 5-0, and the meeting is adjourned at 6:56 p.m. Thank you.